Hello, fellow traders. Mark Abramsky from Forex on Dress. This is the news for the 30th to the 5th of December. So now that we're nicely into December, let's just have a look. Scroll down the gold referendum for the Swiss. Really didn't do much. Doesn't really have much of a bearing on the Forex market. As we move along here, we see that we come to the Great Britain pound. Mortgage approvals, net consumer credit, all that sort of stuff. It should, cause the pound just to sort of chop around, maybe move slightly lower, but nothing serious. And then we move around, this is at 5:30, and this is all Singapore time, of course. Then 11 o'clock, we have the US dollar ISM manufacturing. Should print roughly around expected, maybe slightly lower, but anything above 50 is an expansion of manufacturing, and it's been like that for the last 2 years, folks. So I wouldn't look for anything to really change that way, which is pro US dollar, of course. As we move down into Tuesday, December 2nd, we see that the Australian Reserve Bank decision, of the interest rate isn't likely to change. Okay, that's probably going to stay the same. It may push the Australian dollar down a little lower against the US dollar, but once again, I don't expect them to change this particular. They have flexibility to do so, but it certainly would be a surprise given the fact that there's no reason to do so at this particular moment. Inflationary concerns are not at that particular point in time, which would require either a hiring or raising or lowering of interest rates. So don't expect any changes that way, and that is roughly around 11:30 or so Singapore time in the morning. So then we move to Wednesday, and Wednesday the 3rd, once again, focuses more on the Aussie US dollar. Gross domestic product should print as expected, maybe slightly less, but it should probably be roughly within expectations. So don't look for any sort of moves there other than a choppy sort of sideways move. I wouldn't trade it. And as we continue to move down on Wednesday, we see a little bit more Great Britain pound data, which once again isn't a significant um, bunch of news anyway that should move the markets. The Bank of Canada will stay the same. It's not going to change. It may push the loonie down a little bit against the US dollar. US dollar ISM manufacturing composite index should print roughly as expected too. So no major surprises there on Wednesday. And once again, these are not necessarily tradable, even though they're high impact news events. As we move down to Thursday, December 4th, we see that the Great Britain pound, or the UK, its asset purchases and of course its bank rate are likely not to change at all. So once again, standard sort of approach to the currency, the Great Britain pound, US dollar. You could conceivably take a long against the yen, but that would be about the only way that I would play the Great Britain pound. Pretty much untradeable, folks. The euro, you have the same bank decision, central bank interest rates. That's what currencies are all about. And the press conference, which, once again will probably cause volatility in the euro, but may not push it down this time. Okay, I don't see any particular reason for it to fall. And Draghi may or may not be able to do that at this particular time, as it's sideways to down motion will probably continue, maybe even moving a little bit higher. Um, Friday sees, of course, the Bank of England's inflation report and the Eurozone's gross domestic product. Neither of these, even though they're high impact events, I wouldn't trade them. And then, of course, we get to the Canadian unemployment rates and the monthly non-farm payrolls with the United States. Once again, we should see a pro 200,000 print for the non-farm payrolls, although maybe slightly lower than expected, but once again, not a big deal. The unemployment rate will not likely change at all. And it doesn't necessarily mean it's good or that these rates are good or that jobs that are being created are any good or the debt levels are being solved or anything else. Just simply, it probably won't surprise at all. Same thing with the Canadian, it probably will print positive, maybe even slightly better than the number, the unemployment rate will essentially probably stay in this particular area. So once again, we really don't have a lot of tradable news this week. So I'll know more as we, by price action as we get closer to the events. But it's more just an excuse for volatility and stop hunting there, ladies and gentlemen. Not something that I would say stands out. There's nothing that really stands out during the week. Okay, so anyway, stay tuned, and we'll have to take it a day by day type of thing around the order flow also. So anyway. I will be back to see you in the trade room. Take care.